Welcome back to Close Encounters of the Tech Kind. I'm John. We got a fantastic set of conversations today. Not just one conversation, multiple conversations. Biggest thing, we want to talk about YouTube engagement, how our channel has grown and fallen, and we're trying to ride those waves of the algorithm, but talk about that in two shakes. We also want to talk about the Online Safety Act in the United Kingdom and how that could have our issues over here in the United States. It's going to be an interesting one. We got a little bit of questions and answers on SharePoint. Mike's done a deep dive on that. And then an interesting hack happened. I don't want to talk too much about the mechanics of the site, the users of the site, but I definitely want to talk about the T app. Now, none of you guys have heard of that. I confirmed that in the pre-show, so this is going to be a fun side quest for you guys. But before we get into that, YouTube engagement. Guys, I've been watching our YouTube stats, and it's interesting. We've got two different numbers YouTube has given us over all the podcasts we've done. There's views, and then there's engaged views. So I'm going to continue the request of our viewers. If you see something on the screen and you interact with it, it counts it as an engaged view. If you just let it play like it's on a TV or something in the side room, then it's not going to come across as an engaged view. It needs to be an engaged view. So we're going to try this one this week. We tried a challenge last week. It worked. Challenge this week. I'd like everybody to skip forward about 5 minutes into the video. Right now, just skip forward, and then let's skip back, right? So you're going to go see the future, and then you're going to come back and hear the rest of our conversation about engagement. But Jackson, have you seen anything on engagement?
It's something that people like YouTube, companies like YouTube are constantly doing. And I think it stems from bots, right? I mean, a lot of people trying to inflate viewership using bots or paid views or whatever. So I think that's what they're trying to avoid, is just having a bot sitting there watching your video and giving you a payout from YouTube for nothing. So it's kind of hard because it's like, not everyone's trying to skip forward or pause or play the video all the time. So yeah, I'm not sure how they're actually really going to attribute that, but we'll see.
It's going to be a trick. I'm not sure. Mike, have you seen anything on the engagement?
No, I haven't.
Well, here's the good news. Neither have I. All of my information and knowledge comes from anecdotal and other YouTubers putting up their experiences. That's why I want to challenge our viewers today to skip around and come on back to this time frame. I want to see if this has any impact on things. So I think the more engaged our viewers are, the more the algorithm will push it out. So I'm not asking for like or subscribe, but actually I am. Please like, please subscribe. This is really helpful to our channel, helps push it. But I think skipping around and coming back is going to be this week's challenge. Well, speaking of skipping around, I'm John, leading this troop. With me today, we've got Mike.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Got Jackson.
That's me.
And running the controls behind that screen on the center of your TV is Artie.
Good afternoon.
But what if it's morning where they're watching? You just ruined the time of day, Artie.
No, because it's afternoon somewhere in the world.
Here's the next challenge. Watch this in the afternoon.
Is that your way of saying it's afternoon somewhere? Like 5 o'clock somewhere?
Always happy hour somewhere.
We could, since you want everybody to skip around, we could really mess everybody up by starting to refer to the rest of the day as morning. Get them really confused.
Oh, that would be unfair, I think. But
totally.
Might have to try that next time. Maybe we'll put a math problem throughout the entire video and ask people to skip forward and back to find the answers.
Unless somebody
Could be
really
interesting.
enjoys math, that's going to turn off a lot of people.
Yeah, now I'm gonna have a bunch of math YouTube channels in my feed. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Next week it'll be fuzzy cats.
Yippee.
I'll tell you what, I got to figure out how to disconnect YouTube from Google because anytime I search anything on, and YouTube is my usually like actually my only social media. I don't really use Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. So anything I'm ever consuming, it is YouTube. So that means as soon as I make a single search on Google, that's the very next ad I'm going to see on YouTube is an ad for said thing. So I just know if I'm looking anything up that's slightly strange, I know YouTube knows. Oh, it's the worst.
So many possibilities there that I would love to throw into the conversation. I just don't want to screw up your search history next time. So, speaking of searching and histories and futures, the Online Safety Act. Artie, you took a deep dive into that one.
Yeah.
What do you got for it?
So the Online Safety Act, for those that do not know, is legislation that went into effect on the 25th of July in the UK. And its stated purpose is to make it safer for kids online, which I think we can all get behind as an idea. How it goes about that is not as solid, and there's a lot of concern. There's been a lot of concern about this law for months now, and a bunch of companies and nonprofits and even just like regular people hosting websites now have to follow certain regulations within the UK, which includes verifying the age of the person that is going to be accessing the website. Now, I think we've touched on age verification sites in the past, but this is like uploading a picture of yourself to prove that you are of the appropriate age. In some instances, ID verification for things, and you can.
Oh, I got it.
From a
I got a
cybersecurity
doozy on that.
standpoint, this is kind of bonkers. For an enforcement level, it's going to be extremely difficult to enforce it for a lot of reasons. Because people are going to be able to spoof it. I mean, people are already spoofing it. One of the articles that I was looking up has people taking pictures from the game Death Stranding 2 of the actor Norman Reedus and using that to spoof the age verification.
So we live in a world with generative AI that can draw
Yeah,
pictures
exactly.
realistic. We can make up numbers. I mean,
You're forgetting it's the same AI that's going to be identifying the image, and it never fails.
You know how many people I've seen on social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, that have downloaded camera filters. It's like age me 50 years. You know, what do I look like in 50 years, kind of thing. I mean, and they're getting kind of scary, real. I mean, it's like I look at some of those. I was like, yeah, you probably will look like that in 50. You know, whatever it is. You know, at age 75 or 80 or whatever it is. That's one aspect. Second, Jackson's got no hope because he just perpetually looks like he's 14. I mean, he's never going to get in, you know? So,
thanks, Mike.
it's a blessing, not a curse.
Until it's
Use
a
it while
curse
you
and not
got
a
it.
blessing.
What's that?
The other thing that I would add to this is that the wording of this law puts the onus on the companies, which is why you've got a bunch of the companies scrambling or in some cases shutting down because they do not have the financial capabilities of putting up with this. One of the things I was looking at. What?
it's a good way to shut off innovation and say, you know what, we're gonna regulate this in a way that is untenable, that the industry has no clue how to manage. There's no central authority on any of this stuff, but you have to do it or else. Like,
Yeah,
I've got a lot of
And then
questions.
it's more personal information. Like
exactly.
I'm already like, what did you say it was going to have to be some kind of like a ID card that has both picture and name? I mean, you got to be able to tie the two together, right?
The
So
exact methodology isn't like ironed out completely yet, which is another failing of this. But
awesome.
it's not ironed down, but heaven help you if you don't do it by the letter of the law.
I mean, isn't that how a lot of legislation rolls out? I mean,
It
worldwide, it doesn't just
eh,
matter.
you
Fair
know,
enough.
hey, so this reminds me of, talking along those lines, this reminds me of a number of years ago, the Federal Railroad Administration laid down the law and said, okay, we're going to have positive train control. This is following an accident that happened in California where, also technology related, one of the train locomotive engineers, drivers, was surfing on his cell phone, not paying attention to what was going on, and totally missed a signal that was to tell him to slow down, because the next signal was a stop, and immediately past the stop signal was a freight train, right? And so because he missed the signal to slow down, he didn't slow down in time, and it was a pretty nasty disaster that hurt and maybe even killed a bunch of people. It was this accident that prompted, they had already been talking about it, but then it really ramped it up to say, we want positive train control, meaning that if somebody doesn't do their job and slow down the train as they go through a signal, or stop the train before the signal, we need some kind of a mechanism that's going to automatically send that train into a shutdown, a stop,
Mhm.
right? And so all the railroads are like, we've got umpteen millions of miles of railroad that we have to implement this on. How are we going to do this? And I remember that it's like, hey, we're going to have this implemented by, they pick a date, and then it gets pushed back, and then it gets pushed back. And it's one of those things where it's like kind of a knee-jerk reaction, like, we're going to do this. And then when the reality sets in, it's like, okay, the reality is it's going to take a long time to do this before we get completely implemented.
You have to
I
launch some
see that.
satellites.
But I mean, they haven't even figured out like what kind of ID, like, because there's going to be kids that need to go to certain websites that, let's talk about in the US, of good age is 18, maybe 21 for some sites. But if you're underage, you have to verify that you're underage and still over a certain age. Like, there's kind of some in between ages. So was it going to be like driver's license? What if you don't have a driver's license? Not everybody drives. Is it state issued ID? Is your school ID from your high school or elementary
Social
school? Is that good
Security.
enough? It's just, we don't have picture ID attached to our social security
Yeah, true.
yet.
Well,
But
not to bring the politics, and I don't want to, but the U.S. is still having a heated debate on whether voter registration should include ID and checking as you're going in to do your ballots. So again, I'm nothing about one side or the other. I'm just saying there's a heated debate on that. So if we
yep.
have to require that ID to just surf the internet,
And the
oh
US
my
has its
goodness.
own proposed law, which we've talked about before, the
Mhm.
KOSA. And that has got its own flaws, but I think that the Online Safety Act in the UK is going to be something a lot of detractors are going to point to as this doesn't work, because Wikipedia is looking at limiting the number of visitors that can access the website in the UK just to keep it out of a certain classification that would require expanded biometric type of IDing for users and contributors.
Mhm.
So
So if they keep it under a
Jackson,
code, then they can get around the requirement.
certain requirements,
Hmm.
but they want to
there's always going to
preserve
be a loophole.
the privacy of their users, which, I mean, the internet without privacy is going to be nightmarish.
Oh, it's just e-commerce at that point. But then again,
Even
Jackson,
then,
you had a couple questions.
I have so many questions. It's
We
actually
blew right
crazy.
past you.
But
You
no,
said,
that's
"Hey, I got a
okay.
question." We just walked right over that.
No, that's fine. I think now that the more that we're talking about, the more I'm realizing that all of my questions are just gonna. It sounds like such a half-baked idea, honestly. Like nobody's thought about it at all. Most of my questions were surrounded around how it's going to work, but it seems like they have no idea how it's going to work.
one
So,
thing,
I mean, but I guess my first most important question is like it's already in. They passed a law, is what you're saying. Like it's
it
in
went into
legislation.
effect on the 25th.
Okay, and what is the like requirement? Is it the requirement that everybody has to verify an age? Like if I'm hosting a website, I have to verify the age of who's visiting my website.
Pretty much.
Within a certain threshold.
What if
With
it's
it-
rated E for everyone? Like who gets to decide what the rating is? Like yeah, like
Yeah. I haven't dug that deep into it yet. I haven't
don't
come
think they
across
have
that
either.
information in my research yet.
Well,
The,
I got two things.
Mhm.
I've got two things. One, this actually dovetails with the T app that I've seen get so much negative publicity lately. But I've got a solution towards the age thing. And hear me out on this. If you have age verification done the same way as organization, Mike, let's think certificate authorities. It verifies that WIO support is an entity with a secure socket layer connection, right?
Right.
But it doesn't go look at the articles of incorporation to say, is this a legitimate company? That's already been done by a certificate authority. What if we had a decentralized version of trusted entities that have the identities of everybody? All our identities are leaked out anyways, right? Like 16 billion names, passwords, social security numbers, addresses. Everybody's information's out there. That genie's out of the bottle. So what if we had a central authority like our certificates online? So you got root certificates, and those are passed down, and they live for a certain number of days, and you have to renew. I'm being very glib on that, but if you had a situation where you go to the site and says, "Hey, I'm John," and it says, yes, you're John, and I'm verified, but the website that I'm going to doesn't get any of my information. It just says, yep, John is trusted and validated, and he may pass.
It's like one of the solutions that I was seeing from some people is along those lines. It uses a cryptographic key that is generated that it's basically your key for that, but at the same time, I mean, we've got people that are going to spoof it. The other thing that people have been doing to get around it, same thing that happened in the US when certain states enacted their age restriction laws. VPNs, like it went up 1,400%, the number of people searching for VPNs on like Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo, wherever you search
App
for your things.
stores. No, you name it.
Because people don't want to deal with the hassle. It is less about, and it's also something that does not seem like it's actually going to keep anybody safe. It's just,
And that's why I'm recommending a decentralized system.
yeah.
Don't put it in the hands of one authority like the Social Security Administration or the DMV. Heaven help us if that was the source of knowledge. I mean,
The internet would just slow down by like 500%.
You'd have to get in
Just
line
inherently.
to see a website.
take 5 hours to get to Amazon.
You'd get there and then
Loading-
it'd say, "Sorry, the DMV's closed today. Come back tomorrow."
Loading your web page. You are number 178, now serving 54.
That is exactly what would be happening with Wikipedia. if they've got a lawsuit in progress to challenge the legitimacy of the law.
Hmm.
So they're taking many routes to protect their users, to protect their contributors.
Well, and it's one of those ones, violations of laws is in the eye of the beholder or the ones who's violated. Anything in the gray area has to go to the courts, right?
Yeah,
And all of us have heard stories where the better paid lawyer wins, right? That's as again, I'm being facetious a little bit, but if you've got a good lawyer, you can do almost anything you want. But what does that mean? I think having a decentralized system like our SSL system, secure socket layer, everything on the internet is now SSL. So that's a system that works, and there's no single paid authority that you go to. You just go to trusted authorities on the internet. So if you trust GoDaddy, or if you trust Namecheap, if you trust Mike, who's the big one? Oh,
VeriSign. Is that
yeah,
one of
there's
them?
VeriSign.
Let's
there's
Encrypt is the free one
that's
that
the big
everybody
one.
likes to
That's
use.
the big one.
Yeah.
So if everybody's using these for their trusted internet transport, I'm not suggesting using them for this. I'm saying use that framework and extend that out to age verification also.
another
It's
aspect.
hard to reverse, hard to hack, and you're basically still private. It's just you're verified through a third-party trusted source.
Another aspect of
Well, good
this
idea.
that a lot of people are bringing up is that it is basically censorship as well. It's preventing people from
absolutely
getting
is.
to websites that, I mean, kid wants to go and play a game on one of those random, kids game sites. If that site doesn't have the proper age verification installed, kid can't get there. If you're an adult and you try to go to that site to play these kids games, because we all enjoy kids game now and then, you're not going to be able to access that without submitting proof of who you are. But on those same lines, it is like Prime Minister was saying that this law does protect children because it will keep them away from certain content, like going to a site where they mention self-harming, stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, but it also blocks out the ones that talk about how to deal with that, the feelings regarding that, and how to not do that. It's not a it's not a scalpel surgery. It's surgery with a baseball bat in the way that it handles the content.
And my other
Which-
thing is you're trying to take something that is the internet, which is so interconnected, and you're trying to lock it down somehow. But I mean, it's a worldwide web, but there will always be a way around. Like I don't. It is so hard to lock something down truly on the internet. There's always a way around it.
In the real world example, it makes me think of, back in the day, we talk about kids making fake IDs so they can get into a club or to go buy a beer or, get access to something they wouldn't otherwise have access to. And I think about stolen credentials. How do you verify? Like, I get that I could have a thing on my computer that is like a certificate or a token or a key or whatever you want to call it that gets sent out and it can be checked and verified, but that still doesn't verify between this screen and this chair right here that I am who I say I am.
Exactly.
What makes that connection? And I just think they're getting way too far into the details, and at some point you can't police everybody on every single little thing. You got to accept with a certain amount of trust that people are just going to do the right thing. And you also have to accept the fact that there's people that are just bent on doing bad things. And as much as you try to legislate it and put laws in place, bad guys are called bad guys for a reason, because they break the law. You make a law, they're going to break it. They're going to find a way around it.
Well,
It reminds me of
and I agree.
DRM with video
You're
games.
keeping, all it's going to do is keep honest people honest. That's really all it's going to do.
Or
in the
it's
end.
going to hurt the honest person because they are following all the rules.
And
Yeah.
their information then gets stolen or compromised or whatever.
Yeah, that's really my
Yeah.
big concern with all of this, is because
Okay.
no matter what type of agency that you've got running this, if it's a private agency, if it is a government agency, storing that data is going to make it a massive target for people that want to get that data. And
So let's talk about that. I want to jump into the next one, guys.
Okay.
Because it is absolutely germane to what we're talking here. So bear with me as I lay this out. There's an app, TEA, and it's a communication tool for women to do basically Yelp review of their dates with men. Great idea,
I'm
Spill
so
the
glad
tea,
I'm
sis.
married and I don't have to deal with any of that anymore. But go on,
right?
tell me more.
Right?
Sounds-
It's
This is why
What
I've never heard of it.
possibly go wrong. And it's only for women. Okay, so how do you prove that it's only for women? You make women pull out their driver's license, take a picture, upload it to database, you get approved, you're in the club, okay? So now you can talk about all the men you want and do the reviews. Okay, I'm not gonna throw shade one way or the other.
There's got to
I'm
be
just
like the best of tea, like the funniest
There's-
reviews. There's got to be some good ones out there.
There's
don't
there's
know.
all kinds of directions this discussion can
Don't
go
know.
on.
But I
good
got
as
good
in
news.
funny.
I'm like Jackson a few minutes ago. I've got all kinds of questions in my head now, but it's probably all just a moot point. So
Well, I got good news for you guys. If you want to find that out, Mike, you and I, we're married. We're not going to be on there.
boo-hoo. Darn. Oh well.
So Jackson, you might be on there. You could go find out.
I don't
'cause
think I'm gonna get on it.
the database got hacked.
Oh
Yeah,
no!
there you go. What if I am on there? That's a thought.
be-
Holy cow.
No. This is worse than even that. All the IDs for all the people that got their ID check, it's out in the wild now. Pictures of all the driver's licenses. It's out in public. So this website, all these ladies were trusting this to keep them safe, keep their communications confidential, so that us guys would never find this kind of thing out.
It's like karma.
Well, guess what? The database they used, if reports are true, the database they used, the 4chan group that found this out, saw the database was exposed to the internet, no firewalls, no protections, just basic user security. So it wasn't even locked behind a front end. The database was open, so you could connect to it with SQL Studio and just go nuts. Or
Start
use
browsing.
all-
Nice.
all of your hacking tools to try and crack into that database, which takes about 30 seconds. So, we're talking about IDs, right? This site wanted to make sure that it was women only talking about men. Let's keep the men off the site. Let's not even tell them about it, because I didn't know about this till I heard about the hack from 4chan. But, oh my goodness. All these IDs are out there in the wild from what was a trusted source. So, I guess the question in my mind is, if we're going to trust websites to keep our IDs safe, to verify our age and our identities,
I'm not. Never.
what's the accountability, and what's the punishment if it doesn't work? It slips up once. It just takes one website to leak your ID out to the world.
Yeah, but it seems like it takes so long for like class action lawsuits to come through, you know.
But also,
And
But
you
in the
have and
meantime,
it has to meet certain thresholds. I mean, I clearly in a data breach, you could clearly get to certain thresholds pretty quickly, but then I think you probably have to prove actual damages and everything, and it sounds like every time I hear class action, it just sounds like a big nightmare. You know,
you
it's a
get $4,
process. Now,
and the lawyer
sometimes it
pleading
works
the case
out.
gets
Yeah, sometimes it works out, and
$590.
people get recompense for being wronged on something, but still, it's a it's a process. It's a definite process.
and what if in
In the
their
Doesn't go
terms of
meantime,
quick.
service they've got forced arbitration as something that you agree to regardless? Then you can't
Right?
get a
but in the
class
meantime,
action.
guys, all those girls that have been raiding Jackson this entire time, their IDs are out in the wild.
Karma. Wait, okay, no. I'm looking at this I'm looking at least some of the ads they have for this app. Like on the App Store, the whatever. This
I'm
just looks
surprised it's
like
still up.
I'm not looking at it on the App Store, but I found the photos that they have at least used in the App Store as their, advertising. So I don't know. Is it still up? Does anybody know? RD, if you want to try and find that. But
They probably won't
if
take it
it,
down for something like this.
which is crazy.
Disruption in service causes more chaos than leaving it up and trying to do damage control with it active.
Right. Well, I mean, the core idea of it sounds like just terrible. Like it's literally like group stalking. They're showing you can it says set alerts for your man. The caption says want a heads up anytime Jake is mentioned in your area. So you can literally like group stalk somebody and be like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
It's
I don't want to
hilarious,
get
but it's
because
crazy.
if this was reversed and men doing it about women, the conversation would be way, way different.
Oh, yeah.
That's like most of the internet anyway.
I'm saying, like, let's not even go there. Let's stay away from value judgments on the people that use it. Let's focus on just the tech because I don't want to cause that kind of ruckus.
So on the
Right.
technological side of things with this, the thing that comes up is what is to stop somebody from, generating a fake ID for somebody and submitting that as information to get on there to, as was mentioned earlier, stalk somebody or get information about somebody that it's.
So here's one, because I know Amazon's done this with their reviews, is they have a flag to say that it's a verified purchase. How do you verify the date? How do you know it's not a fake review?
Right?
I mean,
You're
yeah.
expecting honesty.
Yeah, I mean,
Matt.
honesty from being who you say you are and signing in, right? To then being honest that you really did go out with this person, and are you being honest about the experience that you had, or are you just making up something to get back and social revenge
Mike,
this person? Like,
we got to wait for the site to get back up. Let's get into that database and make Jackson a 5 out of 6. Let's rate him so high with 10,000 reviews.
I mean, I don't know. It's the whole problem I have with social media. Social media, while there are some positive aspects, there's a lot of negative stuff that goes on, and
yeah, I still say let's make Jackson the most eligible bachelor in the entire country.
Yes.
I wouldn't wish that upon him. That sounds like actually a punishment in a way.
Well, you have to be careful. You can only really submit like 2 or 3, or then it looks like I'm just dating everybody on the planet.
Well, I mean, we got access to the SQL database because they have very poor OPSEC.
Well,
we could craft whatever you want.
That'd be hilarious because there's those women that would say like, "I won't date this guy unless, even if he was the last man on earth," kind of thing. And you can make it that according to the database, he is the last man on earth. I mean,
Well,
Oh, you
here
could
we
have fun
are.
with that. You remember MySpace?
oh yeah, the days
And
before Facebook.
that one guy, what was his name? Tom was
Tom.
everybody's friend.
Yeah.
Make him the most eligible bachelor. Replace every guy in the database with him.
I think that his wife might be upset by that.
Hey, he's friends with everybody.
Yeah, do you know why he did that? Because he didn't want anybody coming to his website to feel like that they didn't have anybody that they could talk to.
What a
It was
nice guy.
altruistic.
I don't know. It's still creepy. Like, my friend isn't my friend. My friend is friend of everybody. But I guess when the UK is saying, let's put these rules that you have to do ID proof, here's a case in point where a website did
Bad
ID
idea.
proof for very selfish reasons. They wanted to make sure that it was women only on the site. The motive was there. The opportunity was there. The desire to keep the site secure and safe was there. Oops.
But they left the database backdoor wide open.
And that,
I mean,
you
almost
said,
wide open, but
there's so many directions these hacks can come. You know, it's very hard to put that level of ownership on everybody. Like, if you choose to create a website with information on, I don't know, coffee or energy drinks, clearly something that shouldn't be in the hands of a 13-year-old. I don't know. I know some 13-year-olds that drink coffee. They should stop. It's not good for your body at that age. Okay, so we're not talking hardcore beverages. We're talking caffeinated energy drinks. Rather than just putting up information, now we have to collect everybody's identity to give the information. That just doesn't seem like a good idea.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking about this, and like, if you mandate that, like, I mean, there's several ways this can go. Say you, in its worst and most terrible form, everyone has to collect that information. So every time I open up any site, I have to submit my ID to be able to access it. Well, then that immediately goes to nobody's going to want to do that. So maybe your browser has it. Well, now my browser has another piece of information about me that is, I'm sure, to get hacked. It'll be stored in cookies. It'll be, all of this stuff. I mean, just
stolen.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, there's
Come to
no
the dark
good
side.
option.
We have cookies.
Because
What
they
happens
want to
if
look like
somebody steals
yeah.
your identity in that sense and uses your information to spoof other stuff?
I know. And so
Then you
now,
have a-
now it's
yeah.
like, then if you store it in the browser, well, I mean, a lot
Bad
of people have a
reputation.
central computer as well. Now that my family member comes, opens up the browser, now they are acting as me. So that's not secure. So it's like, there's no good option. This is a terrible idea.
Well, let's go with that energy drink site. We're tracking everybody that goes there. We've got their IDs. We got all the information possible. We literally can run identity theft on 100% of the people who have signed up for our site. And so can every other site that's collected this information. There's no security. There's no protection. It's laws. But Mike, like you say, it takes them
We know how well those
to get
go.
class action.
Right.
The FBI doesn't respond to something like that like the next day unless you really, really piss people off. But
Right.
Or
The
you
case
know
has to
somebody.
be built. It's just, I know, it's just,
there's no lockdown and protection of our identities on the other side of this equation. That's what really scares me. You
Mm.
got to
And-
gather it all.
and even as it is, even the existing social media sites that we have, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, something happens, your identity gets compromised, you get your account hacked or something like that. It really feels like Facebook, Instagram, whoever, that's like, tough luck, too bad, sorry. Like, they just don't really care because they don't want to have to spend the money on paying personnel to do nothing but resolve hacked accounts. It cuts into their profits. And I'm maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but that's what it feels like. That if you have to raise a concern, it's nothing but an automated system that's going to try to help you recover do a self recovery of your account,
Yeah.
your information.
Try
I would love.
And
I would-
if the hackers are thorough and they've covered all their bases, that is going to be dang near impossible.
Mhm.
try getting a hold of a person at Google. Good luck.
Or
I would
Facebook.
love for Facebook or Google, the executives, to do a day in the life of a hacked person.
Mhm.
Don't use executive privilege. Just your account has been compromised. Go through the front door and try and recover it. Maybe I'll lay that challenge here. Anybody at Facebook in a high level position, take a good check. Pretend it's hacked. Have somebody hack into it. Do a red team op and try and recover your account and just document your experience and fix it. Like this should not be a thing.
Their fix will be if boss fix. That will be their solution.
it's-
Be like, I fixed it.
It was one of the hardest things in the IT world to get the executives and companies to follow the trouble ticket system. You would always get the boss come over to the tech guys like, look, I'm not going to submit a ticket. I need you to just fix my thing right now. I'm your boss. Just take care of it.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, but you're breaking process that you made me do. Like, we got to document. We got to put it. Measure the number of tickets that are generated. What are the root causes of problems? If I end around that system, I'm not going to follow your rules.
And that's also grounds for firing in some situations.
In good
That's
situations,
22.
if you're not following the process, yeah, that makes sense. But if you get fired for not following the process, that's even worse. Speaking of not following processes, let's jump over to yours, Mike. SharePoint.
So, SharePoint. So, we had talked a little bit
disappointment in
about
your
this.
voice.
I think it was at the end of last week. We kind of mentioned it, and so I was watching for the videos, and sure enough, Low Level Learning did a video on it, and it was actually really surprising about what the exploit is, how it works. It's actually a two-part thing, and actually, the second part, I'll start with that. The second part of it is in the order that he covered them, is that you can inject a piece of serialized data. That the process is that as that data goes into a system and it becomes deserialized, that process of deserialization can cause it to execute code. All right. And so that's basically the payload side of the exploit, that I'm going to put something in there that's going to cause the system, SharePoint, to either give me access to data or to do something else and to, do nefarious things, right?
Mm-hmm.
The interesting part was what he called the first part of it. And you think, well, okay, so everything's protected by a password and credentials and everything. We got to log in and prove that, once again, prove we are who we are and use our tokens, use our two-factor authentication and this and this and that. And on the internet, once you have proven that you are who you are, you get a session, right? And the first part is that the way they validate the user is by looking at the refer, meaning that on a website, I can see where you came from. When I get to a page, there's certain instances where I can pull out that information and say, oh, you came from this website or this web page and landed on where we're at right now. Okay. And in some ways, that's a lot of how like the advertising works and everything. They can detect that and say, oh, you came from an advertisement that you clicked on this other web page, right? Well, in this case, they look at the refer of what got you here. Well, it was the sign out page. And it's like, they're using the sign out page. Like if they signed out, then they must have been signed in. So that means the user is who they say they are, right? And it was really
Oh,
interesting and entertaining to watch him. Just his mind just totally started to melt down. Like how, why, what? How can you, and there's tools
wow.
out there that he walked all the way through it. He did the proof of concept and he showed how
Who was
it
this?
just it's low level learning
Oh, okay.
is the channel. And he walks through these he does a great channel that he walks through a lot of these different exploits and hacks and shows you how they work and everything. But it's crazy. And the story that kind of broke this is what was it? The National Nuclear Agency? I can't remember what the agency is, but big
Yeah.
government agency has all their data on SharePoint and it got hacked.
Hmm.
And it's like, oops. And really, really crazy. I believe he does say that there are patches out there, but if you're running a SharePoint server, yeah, get your systems patched
It's the
quick.
double NSA.
The double NSA, NNSA, not the NSA, but the double NSA. Right.
So I think the moral of the story is don't run services that are exposed to the internet. If you got a SharePoint,
Yeah.
put it behind a VPN.
Yeah, it's I mean, again, it's that trade-off. We trade off convenience and security.
Mhm.
There's no way that you can have them both elevated at the same time. You have to trade one for the other. If it's going to be super secure, there's going to be some inconvenience to it. If you want it super convenient, well, that unfortunately is going to make it less secure, because what's convenient for you is also going to be convenient for the hackers too.
And that's the audacious part of security. I mean, you put it out there one time. So I'll use the schools that I used to work at as the analogy here. I'd sit down with the techs at school. At the end of the day, they're responsible for all the computers at a district. At the end of the day, they go home, put their feet up. They're tired of working because they've been working a long, hard day, sometimes 12, sometimes more hours. But the kids, there's thousands of them, and they all want to try and hack into the system that this guy created. They don't sleep. Their mission is to hack into a system that we've created. So you've got attrition, right? You've got so many thousands times, several orders of magnitude of the number of users compared to the sysops that developed this protection in the first place. They're going to try, and they will find a way in through tricking, through not using the system the right way. It's genius to use the logoff page as authentication proof for a login.
I remember in
Okay.
my web design classes when we did a section where as we were building our web page, and this is on, back end server development, that, okay, here's how you generate a login system, and here's the functions that you use, and you authenticate the user, and then you create a session. And the trick is that you validate that session every single time to say, is it current? And if it's not current, then you bring up the login screen again. Like, hey, this session expired. You need to log in again. And again, it's that convenience versus security. There's some websites you go to, like, man, why am I always having to type in my password? And it's security over convenience. Now you can always check that thing, like, keep me logged in for 7 days or 30 days or whatever, but then you run the risk of having a session that could be stolen and used by somebody else. And that's why, and that's the other thing that, when you see on certain websites, like when you log out, it says, be sure to close your browser, and everything. That's why, it's because you want to destroy all traces that session took place, so that if someone jumps back on, tries to go to that website, it forces some type of an authentication to occur.
So I think that's probably the best case against putting your driver's license in your browser
Hmm.
and using automated systems to prove who you are to a website.
Yeah,
That
definitely.
I mean, Microsoft's SharePoint. There's more time and engineering behind that site than there is most other websites on the market,
And how many people out there,
and it just got hacked.
corporations, are using SharePoint? And by extension, OneDrive, right?
No, not OneDrive.
Not
OneDrive is
OneDrive?
cloud only.
Hmm.
At least, now that I say that, I'll have to double check, make sure OneDrive is not an on-prem solution. I think OneDrive is
I
cloud
don't
only.
think, I think you're right. I think I've never seen or heard of OneDrive as being on-prem. It'd just be SharePoint.
Well, to all our viewers, stay tuned. We'll find the answer to that one. I think we're at the end of our time. If not, I think we're close enough to it that we should wrap this one up.
Yep.
But I think we have decided that putting personally identifiable information, that rolled off the tongue, personally identifiable information on the internet, making that a hard requirement for every website, no matter what their security standards are, is really, really short-sighted. And I'm trying to be kind.
Boo.
The best thing that we can do to keep ourselves safe, you guys, just assume you've been breached, that your data is in the bad guy's hands. Your home address, your mother's maiden name, bank account, social security, all that stuff. Just assume it's out in the wild. Protect yourself accordingly. I say that to you guys on this podcast, and I say that to all our viewers. Protect yourself, freeze your credits, lock it down, stay on top of it, get those 2 or 3 key ingredients, and make sure nobody can get a hold of those. Cell phone numbers, email addresses, password managers, that kind of thing. Anyways, we've got other podcasts on that subject. I encourage you to go check those out. We might even revisit that, just give a refresher, because we didn't cover absolutely everything. But until that day, I'm going to sign off. I'm John.
I'm Mike.
I'm Jackson.
And I'm disappointed.
Disappointed in what?
The way that the UK is handling this.
Oh, okay.
And SharePoint.
At least you're not disappointed in my closing out of this podcast. No, wait, don't.